In the middle of the Iranian desert, where summer temperatures hit 40 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit, ancient engineers built machines that made ice out of thin air. No electricity, no compressors, just mud, shade, and a clever trick of physics. This happened over 2,000 years before the refrigerator was even a sketch on paper. The structure is called a yakhchal, Persian for ice pit, and the earliest ones date back to around 400 BCE. From the outside, it looks like a giant clay beehive, but that shape is not decoration. It is precision engineering for surviving a place that wants to kill anything that stays cold. Making the ice started in winter, not summer. Persians diverted water from underground aqueducts called qanats into shallow pools, shielded from the sun by long shade walls. On clear winter nights, that thin sheet of water would freeze solid, even though the air itself never dropped below freezing. That is the strange part. The trick is called radiative cooling. On a clear night with no clouds, acting like a blanket, heat radiates straight up off the water into the cold of space itself. It sounds like science fiction, but it is the same physics engineers are now trying to copy to build electricity-free air conditioners today. Workers harvested that ice before sunrise, broke it into blocks, and rushed it into the yakhchal's underground chamber, packing it between layers of straw so the blocks would not fuse into one useless slab. They repeated this every cold night of winter until the pit was stuffed with frozen reserves. Then came the real engineering. The dome's thick walls acted as a heat shield, and a tower called a bagir, a wind catcher, pulled cool air down into the pit while forcing hot air out the top. Even in scorching heat, the buried chamber stayed dozens of degrees cooler than the surface above. That ice lasted all the way into summer, chilling fruit, sherbets, and a frozen dessert called faluda. And it was not just for royalty. Ordinary shops in cities like Isfahan bought blocks straight from the Yakhchal and sold them in the local market. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ancient world, the Romans solved the same problem with brute logistics instead of clever physics. They could not make ice in the desert, so they simply went and got it, hauling snow down from the Alps and Apennines into the cities. By the 3rd century, Rome had actual snow shops where anyone with a few coins could buy packed snow or ice off the street. Sellers packed it in pits lined with straw and tree branches, and the ice that formed at the bottom of those pits, purer and denser, sold for more than the snow piled on top. The philosopher Seneca hated the whole trend, calling the obsession with iced drinks a kind of fever. But the demand never stopped because keeping things cold was not just about comfort, it was about keeping food from rotting in a world with no other option. In 2013, archaeologists in Switzerland uncovered 4-meter-deep shafts at the Roman seat of Augusta Raurica that seemed to have done a similar job on a household scale. Filled with snow and ice each winter and sealed with straw, these pits kept cheese, wine, and even oysters edible for ordinary people through the warm months. None of this was unique to Persia or Rome. Chinese ice pits date back to around 1100 BCE. Mesopotamian kings were bragging about their ice houses on clay tablets by 1780 BCE, and Alexander the Great ordered ice pits dug at Petra after his conquests. Every civilization that got hot summers eventually invented some version of the same idea: store winter's cold to survive summer's heat. These weren't primitive workarounds, they were functioning machines built entirely from insulation, shade, wind, and the physics of a clear night sky. And the strangest twist is that some of that ancient know-how is being dusted off right now, as engineers look for ways to cool buildings without burning more electricity to do it. If you want to keep digging into the physics history left, buried under the sand, subscribe for the next one.